Now, we have done a lot of things in this country for financial inclusion, starting with the nationalization of banks in 1969 and again in 1971, the development of rural banks, cooperative banks, the recent developments in microfinance. All of them, in some sense, is about getting more and more people into the financial world, because having financial access is very important, because when you have access to a financial system, you can save money. When you have access to a financial system, you can lend money or borrow money. When you have access to a financial system, you can send money to your family. All these benefits come from accessing the financial system. Now again, for people in this room, it's a no-brainer, because you all have bank accounts. You all have ATM cards. You all have debit cards. You all have credit cards. You have phone banking, mobile banking, all this fancy stuff. So if you need to withdraw money from your bank, all you need to do is walk across to the neighborhood ATM and withdraw money. If you go to a shop and want to pay from your bank account, all you need to do is buy the thing and pay on your debit card, and so on and so forth. If you want to find out your balance inquiry, all you need to do is call up a number and get your balance inquiry. But this is a service which is available only to maybe 50 or 100 million people at best. How do we address the challenge of the hundreds and millions of people who have no access to a bank account? We have 600,000 villages. Only 5% of Indian villages have a bank branch. Only 5%. So the bulk of our inhabitations in the villages have no bank branch. They have no formal financial system. If they need money, they go to a money lender or borrow from their friends and family. If they want to save money, they put it on the mattress. That is the financial system that they have. Now, how do we take financial inclusion to these people? How do we make them part of this? And that's where identity becomes important. You'll say, what is this guy talking about, connecting identity to some financial inclusion? Let me explain why. You must be able to have a device in a village where I can go and withdraw money. Now, you'll say, okay, let's put an ATM in the village. But clearly that's not viable, because an ATM costs lakhs of rupees, there's no power in a village. Somebody has to go and refill the cash all the time. You need one guard outside, and the whole thing goes out of whack. So you can't have ATMs in the village. You can't have a bank branch in the village because you have to hire people, they'll all get unionized. All kinds of things will happen. So how do we deliver high quality, low cost financial transactions in every village? You have to do it through electronification. But you must have a way, a device, where you can do the banking transaction. But if somebody comes to the location for the banking transaction, you need to verify who he is. So if you don't know his identity, how can you withdraw money? So identity verification is at the root of the financial transaction. So what is it that we are suggesting? We are just suggesting something called a micro ATM. A micro ATM in our language is nothing but a device which has a way to authenticate your identity on our system, either using biometrics or a PIN or whatever it is. It has connectivity, so it's connected on the mobile network or even on a landline network. It's got a little printer and some software. And hopefully this gizmo will come for less than 10,000 bucks. Now what will happen? In this world which I visualize, let's suppose there is a worker who works on an NREGA program, and that person has a bank account. In that bank account, he works for a week, 100 rupees a day, he gets 500 rupees. How does it work today? Today, if he gets 500 rupees in his bank account, he then takes a bus and walks 40 kilometers to the local bank branch to withdraw his money. So you may have given him his bank account, but not given him access. So what are we saying? That instead of going to that bank branch, which is 40 kilometers away, this person will walk into a neighborhood business correspondent. A business correspondent in a village can be a kirana store, a self-help group, a PCO, whatever it is. This kirana store or self-help group will have a device which you call a micro ATM. I just described it. So this person, this person could potentially get an SMS saying your money has come. And as I explained to you, it's not a big deal to give a phone to everybody because it's much cheaper than many things. Let's say he gets an SMS that his money has come. Then he walks into the neighborhood Kirana store and authenticates himself, either by putting his thumb or a number, and our system says, yes, it is indeed Ram Singh, or whatever his name is. And then he says, I want to withdraw 500 rupees. He tells that to the Kirana store owner. The Kirana store owner gives 500 rupees from his cash drawer. And on the system, his account will get debited 500 rupees, and the Kirana store's account will get credited 500 rupees to replace the 500 rupees that he took out. In other words, a micro ATM, which has authentication of your identity and a couple of other things, has now become a ATM cash dispensing machine which can be there in every village. And therefore you have the ability now to take your banking services out to a large population without incurring the cost of ATMs or incurring the cost of a bank branch. And today the average withdrawal in an ATM is thousands of rupees, because that's the economics of that business. In this model, hopefully the withdrawals will be in 50, 100 rupees. So suddenly you have lowered the cost of financial transactions so that it becomes cheaper. You have improved the access because now you can reach it out. And the bottom of that is identity. It is possible because you now have an electronic way of authenticating that the person is the person he claims to be. That's why I'm saying that the identity and the ability to electronically authenticate identity is the key to inclusion, because you can now come up with all kinds of things. So what I said talks about financial inclusion, but the same logic can be applied in food distribution. The PDS system can use that to distribute food and rice. The same logic can be used in healthcare to give healthcare. The same thing can be used to give education. The same thing can be used for giving immunization, and so on and so forth. So the point is that when we talk about technology, it's not just about some fancy computers in a large room. It's about using the fact that the price of technology falls, that the scale goes up, that electronification essentially eliminates any paperwork and all that, and deliver services, and the reach goes up because of the communication network, and deliver services of a level that is not possible anywhere else. Because in that model I gave you of the micro ATM, the micro ATMs are all interoperable. They're all connected to each other. Which means if there are two BCs in a village and one BC is not giving me good service, I can go to the next one. Exactly like you can go from one ATM to another ATM. If you have choice in your financial services, why should not that person in the village have the same choice? That's what it's all about. It's how do we use the same power of technology that we give benefits to the urban middle class and the rich. How do we deliver similar value, similar choice, similar negotiating power to the poor people so that they also access that? So I believe that my point is, Comrade Chavan and I have come to some conclusion from very different points of view. Right? He spent an entire career in his activities in trade unions and in writing pamphlets on computerization and all that stuff. And I came to it from the other side. But we are both trying to solve the same problem. How do we make the society more inclusive? How do we level the opportunity? How do we use things to make sure more people have access? Because if you don't do this, then we'll really have the revolution that's going to happen. Because we have a system where a few people are really having access to all these services, but a large majority are not. And I do not see any other way to fix this and deliver public services at a large scale, cheaply, effectively, with choice, with dignity, with empowering the people, but with the use of technology, but not technology in some sort of blind way, but using it thoughtfully to make sure that the people of India have a better deal. Thank you very much.